Hello, Earth. I'm here to talk about Nick Rekieta and Karen Reed. I guess I'll start with Nick Rekieta first. There's not too much of a development except for he's officially in denial. The end. That's pretty much the long and short of it. I mean, you can watch all the videos and all the tea and all the little stories and everything. I really wanted to see him live stream and see if maybe he, came to his senses or got real for a minute, but nope, he's still faking it. He's faking all of it. I guess he still has a contract with locals, so you better honor that as much as you can, as long as you can. I was so hopeful, and I don't know why, that he might be honest and forthright about anything. Now, he doesn't want to incriminate himself, and I don't want him to incriminate himself either, but I would, as a person in recovery, it's really nice when people, sweep their side of the street and go, you know what, I fucked up. And also, as a person in recovery, it feels really, really good to not have any bullshit. I was there for like 3 weeks. I was like sneaking caffeinated coffee in the afternoon because some rehabs are like prison. And like there was no coffee after like noon or 2 or something, and no chocolate and no joy whatsoever. They served Pepsi products, and I'm a Coca-Cola girl, and it was just, the whole thing was a drag. And no cigarettes. That was the hardest part. I'm still thoroughly addicted to nicotine, but I realized, it's so much easier when I'm not sneaking around and I'm in a place where they're watching you like a hawk. So just be honest. And you know what? I figured out in 7th grade, my best friend and I started smoking cigarettes, and I would walk across the street to do so. And I would also wait till after school because we're still in middle school. And she's like, hey, I have a pack of Newports or whatever. She's like, let's have one right in front of the school. And I'm like, I don't think that's a great idea. And she's like, the teachers never pay attention. We can sit here and smoke. So we sat in this stupidest thing I've ever done. We sat in a circle in front of the school and had cigarettes before school. So day's going through, and they call me down to the principal's office, and the principal's like, we saw you smoking in front of the school today, that this teacher busted you. And I was just like, no, we weren't. And she's like, this teacher saw you. You were sitting right there under that tree. And I was like, yeah, it was really dumb, and I'm sorry. I thought it was a bad idea, and I shouldn't have gone with it, and I regret it, and I'm sorry. Yes, we were smoking. I feel bad. I'm sorry. And then they called my best friend down. And we're born on the same day, and it's so interesting how different we are. Astrological shit is nonsense. She comes in, and the vice principal again is like, you were seen smoking in front of the school this morning. And she said, no, wasn't me. They didn't see me. And we sat there for like a half an hour. And she's like, I don't know who it was, but it wasn't me. You're confusing me with somebody else. And I'm like, Tina, I've already admitted it. Like, at this point, you're just looking foolish, looking stubborn and foolish. And man, she dug her heels in and would not cop to it. I was like, well, I'm copping to it. And thus, I got in less trouble than her. So that was my first lesson in, you know what? Just admit your fuck up. Nick, you fucked up, okay? This is a big, big fuck up. And you can help people by showing them the proper way. Honesty is a better path, but he's just not very likable anymore, is the other thing. There's no joy left in him. It's always like he seems like so obligated to do what he's doing. Like, it's almost like it's homework or something. And then I guess a bunch of people in his chat, I don't know what his chat looks like because I refuse to give him my money. So I watch illicit clips, and I highly recommend you do the same. Someone in the chat's like, show proof of life of that dog. You have a dog? I guess he keeps it in the bathroom, and he doesn't even hear himself when he says, yeah, he was in the bathroom. So he brings out the little pug, and it's a cute little dog, and apparently he's not a fan of it, and that's not becoming. Like, everybody likes dogs. Why do you have a dog? It's the wife's dog. I don't care. Pretend to like your pets. If you're this miserable around your dog, how are you around your children? So he's just in such bad denial. I can't fathom how frustrating it is to be his old lady. I don't want him to mess up his court case, but I want him to be well, and I want him to be happy. He has lots of reasons not to be happy. Like, he's been being sued for a very long time, and I think that's what started all of this, is when he absolutely called this guy a PDF file, and then denied it to Null, who is the guy who runs Kiwi Farms. And that really pissed him off. They were friends until he lied to Josh Moon. That's Null. And now Josh is very much not on the same page. Speaking of Kiwi Farms, I haven't been there. It sounds hysterical. I like Reddit because it's really funny. But some genius editor has been taking movies, like the first one was Braveheart, and it was about Mandy, which, another stupid saga. This man has been through so much, so dumb. I think all of this is so dumb because it is not his fault his fan was lying to him. Okay, this does not make Nick look like a fool. He looked like a fool that he was singing songs to her, him, they. But like, oh, what a schmuck. This guy was catfishing him the whole time. What makes Nick the fool in all of that? This person put on such a good front that he pretended to be a woman online for over a decade. And they only found out when they went to his work and said, hey, we're looking for this chick. And they're like, there is no chick that works here, which is kind of funny. And I think Good Logic accidentally outed that one. So, and that was just another reason for him to start using more, because when you're an addict, you love an excuse to get high. And like, oh, I need a beer. I know the feeling. I totally get it. He's going to be so much happier when he comes to his senses and gets fucking real. People like real. I think the reason why YouTube is popular is because real people are on there. I think, of course, there's drama and tea and all that bullshit, but I think it will really behoove him to have a fucking real moment with himself, or confession is a beautiful thing. Unburden yourself, Nick. Be honest, and people will like you again. You're just not likable anymore. You are bitter and conniving and shitty. What he did to uncivil law, trying to set people up with the racist jokes and whatnot. I'm sorry, it doesn't fly. His stand-up was not cutting edge. It's okay to be extreme. It's wonderful. Anthony Janelslik, I've never pronounced his name. He makes my jaw drop every single time, but he does it across the board, and so it's funny and it's fair. Obviously, Don Rickles would be the king of that. And yes, he would immediately insult someone's heritage, but as long as he does it to everybody in the audience, then it's fair, right? And so that's why South Park gets away with what they do. So I like that kind of stuff. You gotta push the envelope, as it were, but he's just in such wretched denial. It's really, really sad. He's going to end up in the hospital or dead. And this is a nice, polite wake-up call from the universe. Get your fucking act together. And he's not listening. He's just, oh, my luck is so poor. All of this is lies. It can't be. The things that Aaron Imholt, or whatever the hell his name is, the things he was saying before he got arrested turned out to be true, and then now it's all worse than we thought. And the 2-3 lawyers that are actually standing up for him and finding excuses of like, okay, this sovereign citizen nonsense. And yes, I would love to live in a world where drugs were not illegal and everybody could do whatever they want, to whom and with and however they want. But that's not safe. And people need to be safe. It's, my rights end where yours begin. I suppose. So they're just making up excuses and looking like asshats in the process. So they're going to go down with him, and it's just dumb. And I don't like people taking sides, but the reality is that Nick really fucked up, and Good Logic is making excuses for him. And I haven't seen what Braca has to say about it, but he streamed the hearing, which I thought was rather bold of him. I don't know if they're still friends, because also Nick seems like the kind of guy who holds a grudge, and I think that's why everybody was towing the line for him for so long and not talking about the PDF lawsuit at all. And that's when I regained respect for uncivil law, Good Logic. I love him as a person, but his grift is clear. His grift is really clear now. And I thought he was a really, really good friend. A really good friend is honest with the people they love when they see them dying. And he's not being honest. He's making excuses for him. And it really bums me out to see that. And apparently, these people have not seen the kind of drug and alcohol shit that I have, because I've had numerous friends die of it. Relapse is absolutely a real thing, and a lot of people die on their relapse because they take as much as they did before they got sober, and because they want to get really, really high. Well, the last time they got high, they had a really high tolerance, and it kills them. My very, very best friend, I think that's what happened to her. It's really, really sad. And so being honest is the most important thing. And his denial is almost depressing at this point. It's just like, if you're not being honest with us because you're not being honest with yourself at all, And fuck, there's California sober anymore. Like, there's almost rehabs that let people smoke weed in them at this point, because weed is the perfect drug. As George Carlin said, because all roads, it doesn't make you puke on your shoes. And his parents couldn't smell it on him when he got home. He liked weed for a lot of reasons, but the real beauty of it is, with so many other drugs, it's all pleasure and very little pain. And the more you take it, it becomes less pleasure and more pain until the scales are reversed. And that's what makes addiction so awful, because you're no longer getting high, you're getting close to normal, and then you don't even know what normal is anymore. And it's depressing. Anyway, here's another depressing subject. This is my thoughts on Nick after 13 minutes. Is he's in denial, and he is in a lot of trouble until he figures it out. And I hope he's still alive for his kids in 5 years. I really do. And then there's the Karen Reed trial, which is going crazy. So earlier this week, I can't believe this guy still has a job. And Ian Ruggles, right? He's going to keep his job. But Proctor was texting with his friends about Karen the day the investigation started. And not just saying, oh yeah, she hit her boyfriend and we're, doing that math or whatever. He's talking absolute total shit about her. Like, well, first of all, the conversation is, she a hot babe? Yeah, she's hot, but, she has health problems. So they made a bunch of comments about body parts. I'm just livid. I'm absolutely enraged that is what happens behind the scenes. And I know it's not the norm, but it certainly isn't okay in this case at all. And the things these people would say behind their back, people made comments with some of the first witnesses that it sounds like a group of mean girls. And yeah, John's friends were all mean girls. And when I say that, I'm also talking about men. McCabe, Jennifer McCabe is the meanest girl I have ever seen. And apparently there's the other woman she was worried about. I can't remember all these goddamn names. But, so he gets busted with all of these texts. At least he said it was regrettable. I made a mistake. And you know what? Anybody can have a bad day. But there are hundreds of them. You made hundreds of mistakes. How about it's regrettable? I was being an asshole. I can't believe he came to the stand. That Proctor alone should have made this not come to trial whatsoever. He fucked everything top to bottom. He's obviously hiding and creating evidence. They record that they have 3 pieces of taillight, but suddenly it's 5. Everybody witnesses a single crack in the taillight, and then now all the plastic is gone, and they get on the stand and actually said, yeah, I said it was cracked. No, you said it was cracked. There was a crack in it, not that it was fucking missing. Fucking nuts. So what do? They set him up again so this guy can say on the stand. I'm like, well, why don't you like the defense? Well, he showed up at my sister's school yesterday, obviously trying to intimidate, and it's just like, record scratch, stop everything. What's that about? Jury, ignore what he just said, but it doesn't matter because they just heard it, and all of it is bullshit. So, and what I caught was on Twitter, the lawyer being asked a question leaving the courthouse, what's that all about? And he says, I saw a person who works for the state perjure himself on the stand today. And I was like, I have to know everything about this. So what happened is that lawyer was supposed to meet up with the opposite side, and I guess they needed to exchange paperwork or something, and I don't know why they're not doing it at the office, but the lawyer says, let's meet up at this common area, like a library or something, and the Commonwealth says, no, let's meet up in the high school parking lot. And I'm sure he thought that was just like conveniently located, but he should have known in the back of the head that these people can't be trusted, because then Proctor can get on the stand and say that lawyer showed up at at the high school my sister works at yesterday, and he said this and this, full straight on lies, bullshit. All of that is lies. He didn't say any of those things, and he wasn't there to intimidate anybody. He didn't even know that she worked there. If she did, he wouldn't have gone there. But they're setting him up, make sure pictures are taken so we can put that on Twitter and try to twist the scenario as much as possible. Oh my God, it runs so deep and it's still going. I feel so bad for Karen. He actually said, I hope she kills herself in these texts. You obviously have never known someone who commits suicide, because if you did, you would know that is one of the most fucked up things in the world that someone will experience, and it would have been on your hands. Would have been on his hands for sure. And I don't say that about suicide. This one would have been on his hands. Maya's mother's suicide, absolutely that hospital. Absolutely. Unbelievable. So that happened the other day. And then they released a juror yesterday and a juror this morning. I know that cameras accidentally caught them walking into the courtroom, and so then they stopped streaming, and it's a big kerfuffle. And we saw 4 jurors talk to the judge, and I know that they released one, and that's all we know right now. I wish we would know more. I watched the entirety of the Aurora Theater shooting because it's personal, because it's Colorado, and how many shootings can we have? And it was just wild. And a couple of jurors were dismissed, and all of that was broadcast for us to see it. The jurors didn't see it, or I'm sorry, they had to have, because they were there. But what happened was there was some sort of delay, and there's truth in every joke. This is why there's truth in every joke. So they're outside having a cigarette, and there's a good 3 or 4 jurors there, and one of them says, I wonder why they're not having court right now. And the other one says, well, why don't we go online and check? And if they did or didn't was unclear, but the juror with integrity said, that isn't supposed to happen, and went straight to the judge and said, I overheard this. And they asked this juror, and they asked this, and they ended up dismissing the ones that were naughty, and they ended up keeping the one with integrity. And I like the openness of that. I don't like when they keep secrets, and I feel like Judge Bev is keeping secrets every time she shuts down the stream. Frankly, I'm amazed that she kept the stream going today, but she did, so kudos to her. She was so pissed at this cop on the stand. Like every time it got a little heated and he wasn't answering clearly, I called her a see you next Tuesday, and the lawyer's like, oh no, you typed the word, you said the word. And the judge just interrupts like, did you call her a cunt, sir? And I'm like, yay, Judge Bev, you're mad, and you should be, because this is absolute nonsense. I'm so angry, I'm kind of shaking, so I apologize about the view. So that was the other day. They released a juror this morning, and then they did a lot of technical nonsense. And I knew that they would bring in somebody to back up Jen McCabe, because she talked about on the stand about how, no, I had the tab open and my kids are always telling me to close my tabs. And so the Google search at 2:30 in the morning actually happened at 5. And I'm like, not buying it. I didn't buy it from you. And this professional, very charming, I would love to see her testify under any other circumstances. I would believe every word she said. And I also like quill pens and hate computers. Give me a card catalog. I don't like technology, especially after watching all these trials and see that they know if they want to, they can know every step we take in a day. And so she says that's why Jen's thing was actually at 6 in the morning and not at 2, and why it isn't sus. But I think it's very possible that she had that question and she texted it, put it into the tab at 2 in the morning and realized her mistake, and then waited until she actually was at the scene and had a proper excuse to be Googling that, and then hit send on the search. And that's what a lot of other people think too. And if you were that clever to cover that, why did you bother having group texts with all of these incriminated people all this time? You were smart enough not to Google that at 2 in the morning, almost smart enough not to. Why did you have this other communication with all these other people? Because these bitches are arrogant. They think they have more power. They think that they can get away with this shit, especially that cop, Proctor, thinks he does. And he's probably going to get away with it. And he's probably going to keep his job. Unless they can prove that he perjured himself and that he tampered with evidence. They flipped the security camera view of the car right there. The fact that they showed flipped evidence, handed it in, pretended like it wasn't altered at all. And they think that this jury will still trust them is beyond me. I have such faith in this jury. It's just maddening. So then, one last thing. So then they had an expert. He was going to talk about more evidence, and they were doing voir dire on him. And they're asking, like, did you take notes? And he said, yes. And then, where are your notes? Well, they're not with me today. Well, this is trial. This is the day you need those notes. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That was a different one. That was a guy on the stand last week. I didn't take notes at all. Is even more incriminating. Oh my God, these fucking people. So he doesn't take notes. And so then finally the defense comes up to do the cross of the voir dire. And he's like, so why did you meet with Lolly and like everybody on the Commonwealth side? And he said, well, we just needed to get our story straight and have checks and balances. Checks and balances is a direct quote. Get the story straight is what he meant. Obviously, this is a setup, and they're making sure that everybody's singing from the same sheet of music. And so I will be extremely disappointed in Judge Bev if she lets this guy testify on Monday. She said, we'll see you on Monday. But she said that she was going to mull this over the weekend. I can't imagine what she needs to go over. But he's not a good witness. You cannot trust him. It's already tainted. And why the fuck haven't we seen a medical examiner yet? Because one of the infotainment data guys today said, this is what happened to the car, and I think that she hit him when she was going in reverse at like 22 miles an hour, and then it went down to 21.5 miles an hour, and that would be the impact. And the wheel turned or something, and he explained very poorly that when people are hit by cars, it can cause them to spin, basically. And so the injuries on the back of the head would be caused by him hitting his head on the ground, which that I can't argue with. But where did the broken cheekbones come from? Because she didn't hit his face with her car. And why hasn't anybody brought up how much blood he lost? Why haven't we seen a medical examiner to explain he lost so much blood, over half, pints and pints of blood, and it wasn't in the street and it wasn't in the grass? Where did all of his blood go? So I cannot wait to see the defense's argument. And Proctor really scares me when it comes to law enforcement, and I hope he is not the norm. I'm sure he's not. I've met very wonderful, wonderful people in law enforcement, especially firemen and stuff like that. So I still have faith in humanity, because life is too short to not trust everyone so much. Anyway, that's my crazy rant. I needed to get all of that off my chest. I needed to record it more than once because there is so much. But Nick Rekieta is in denial, and he looks like a schmuck. And I know he cares what people think of him. So Nick, get real. People are going to respect you so much more. Become the annoying sober person. That is absolutely a thing. People get so sober that they drive everybody crazy. They start doing yoga and they go vegetarian and they go so far the other way and they start working out. Drive everybody insane that way. We will love you for it. And your kids will forever be thankful. I promise you that. Okay. Thank you so much for possibly sitting through part of this crazy long video, but most likely not.